My name is David Williams. I'm a proud Waka Waka man, currently residing in Brisbane, called Brisbane home for the last 20 years. And I am the Executive Director of Gilimbaa. So Gilimbaa was established in 2008 purely to meet the need of, I guess, a conversation at the time around communicating and celebrating Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander culture. And I guess I really, in the early days as a creative, used creativity as a way to, meet that need. So I was doing a lot of, art and multimedia design at the time, and have a background as a didgeridoo performer as well, and always found, what creativity could bring to a conversation and how people would be engaged in that process. Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people have been doing business for tens of thousands of years. I think we're just doing it differently now. Putting the word entrepreneurship around that is a very mainstream, white term, but it's something that I've never really aspired to, but it's just, an outcome of the day-to-day work that I do, and the work that Gilimbaa does, as a whole. Well, Aboriginal people, we're innovators, we're creators. If you look at the history of, say, David Uniapon, one of the most famous inventors of all time, way ahead of his time. He was the inventor of the scissors, the sheep shearing scissors, and a range of other things. And he's on the $50 note. That's just one example. But you think about the technology that's gone into what a boomerang is. You just think, wow, this is innovation, in its fairly early stage. I think we think about 21st century Aboriginal Australia. We're continuing that legacy, that innovation. We're telling stories in various different mediums. It's not just, dot artwork with ochre on bark. This is, using computers as our canvases, the main stage in concert halls around, different ways to tell our story. So it's an evolving thing. And I guess, importantly, Aboriginal culture is a dynamic culture. We're not static. So this isn't just something that is just here forever. We've been able to adapt and evolve over the years. And I said, well, look, this isn't the first time that Aboriginal people have had something that's been introduced from overseas. And we got through it over 200 years ago, and we're resilient people. We didn't. That wasn't the end of it. We were able to evolve and adapt, and ultimately, that's tens of thousands of years of continuity culture that we're able to still allow that to continue today. The concept of sustainability, again, that's existed amongst blackfellas for forever. It's a term that's been more widely used recently, and people are wanting to kind of think about how they can be more sustainable. I think, you can go down the role of, what climate change is doing, and just recently I was reading an article about some Torres Strait mob around, the issues that are happening up in the islands there, that the sea levels are rising, that they're literally, decimating, communities there, that where they practice their culture through generations, it's going to be within this lifetime that particular island or that part of the island is going to be underwater, and they've got family all buried there. And then what does that mean, And I think if people can understand, that part of the equation, it's not just something that kind of happens, unless it's happening in our backyard, it doesn't apply. These are stories of first peoples of this country, that once that goes, that's it, that's gone forever. I think what's important too is being able to look to our elders and look to those people who have the knowledge and customs in our community, and consistently being guided by those values, because ultimately it's, unless we have that support of our communities, endorsement from our elders, we might as well shut up shop. So that's really important, because it's that knowledge and understanding that grounds us as who we are as Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, that is fundamental in the business that we do, the way that we operate, where we are grounded, and who we are connected to. Which I was fortunate enough to learn that at a very young age, and that's really been, a big guiding principle in the work that I do and how I carry myself on a day-to-day basis. I think this notion of founder, like it's a very Western way of thinking, because ultimately I see Gilimbaa, I see myself as a cultural conduit. We don't own these stories, we are vessels to carry that story forward. It's not about one individual person. So if you're thinking a founder of an organisation, to carry that story, it's not about that. It's those communities that we work with, the people who we bring together, and that end outcome to be able to share, celebrate and educate people about the richness and story of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander culture. One of these ideas that's thrown around is you can't be what you can't see. Okay, so for me, I didn't see Aboriginal people in business to the extent that we have now. I didn't see Aboriginal creatives there working in an environment which I do too, which I do today. I think all respect to our wonderful Indigenous footy players and role models out there. When I was a kid growing up in Rockhampton, regional Queensland, we'd have these sports stars come into our school and say, stay in school, which is great message, stay in school, everyone. But I can't connect with that because I can't see myself as a football star when I finish uni, or finish school. So you need to think about that practicalities of, that seed you can plant in the minds of these young students to say, you can be this, you can be a business owner, you can be an artist, you can be a designer, because it's a market out there that exists, and it's something that people need to think about because if you think about as an Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander person, growing up in your profession, this isn't something that you just leave at the door of your office when you walk in. This is something that you practice, that we all practice every day. But thinking about it in a professional environment is something that that I'm glad that I can be able to do, because it's not something that I need to hide or put away, but it's about encouraging that, developing that knowledge as an important role that it has within our business and many businesses. Well, look, I think it's important to understand that people are involved within an organisation, that they can share the values that exist within that organisation and really find their why, because that will allow them to get excited about going to work every day. But it's all about, but also I strongly believe it's about getting the best people for those roles. You can get the experience out there, Indigenous or not, to help, I guess, craft that vision that allows you to go about, your day-to-day business to achieve, the outcomes that are set there. So that's really important because, all the entrepreneurship books or all the business books will say, never be the smartest person in the room. Always, employ or have a team around you that are way smarter than you, because that way you don't have to do all those things. I think that's really important. I was going to throw to Danielle here and say, what do you think, Danielle? That one's kind of stuff. Those cliches.
I'm not going to let you off.
I don't know. Look, I'm not an accountant, but we've got a very good accountant. And as long as I have a basic understanding from a business sense of what we need to be achieving, you get the right people around the table to help achieve that. That's really important because, that's ultimately what's going to, I guess, from my experience, allows you to succeed. This concept of what Indigenous entrepreneurship is, it's not something that I've really thought about, and to be honest, I haven't really got my head around it. I think ultimately it's where you want to go in your profession and in life. So, and for me, it was the role of creativity and where that plays in to be able to, I guess, create a platform and raise awareness around the role that Aboriginal culture has within this country, to remove that ignorance that exists, for people to understand there is a shared history in this country. So for me, it was using creativity as that gateway to do that, and then ultimately, it was going into business that that's just what we did. But it was getting the right people around the table at the right time to allow that to happen. I thought I might just touch on one more point, which before we were talking about, Andrew Brown, and this is something that I said to him a number of years ago.
Sorry to interrupt you, David. Could you just tell us who Andrew Brown is?
Yeah, certainly. So Andrew Brown was my first lecturer when I did my Bachelor of Music in 2001, and we were sitting on the ground level or the bottom level of M Block, and there was about 6 or 10 of us first year students, and it was interesting because he said these words that have just stuck with me forever. He said, "Nobody's going to care once you leave this place that you've got a piece of paper." He said, "It's all about who you know and how to connect with people." And that resonated with me straight away because who cares if you're a musician, you got a piece of paper that said you studied at university for 3 years. But it was that collaborative nature that that you're able to connect with other students to help you get through. What was interesting is with that mindset of understanding that connection and network, that's ultimately how Gilimbaa was started, because when I was doing a lot of freelance design at the time, it was a big project that came up, and I was able to reach out with somebody who I knew who'd already started a mainstream agency 2 years prior, and to say, "Hey, this is an idea that I've got, or that's come through," and we just started talking, and then out of that was born, Gilimbaa. Like, it was a pretty incredible thing. And then you go, well, okay, we need to reach out to this person. Does anyone have any, of that person in the network? Yeah, sure, no worries. And that was just kind of, something that I really, I guess, took hold of in the early days. Well, we think about the future every day, because the idea behind Gilimbaa in Waka Waka language, meaning today, is the story and customs of our old people of yesterday that are handed down to the here and now. In cultural way, we say Gilimbaa today, because it's what we do today that has an impact on tomorrow. Tomorrow being Gilimbaa, the rise or the dawn of a new day. So that's ultimately what keeps us grounded. It keeps us focused, because without it, tomorrow, there's no today.